Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. On our today's video, we'll be learning how to create this immunization coverage dashboard. Alright, so in this dashboard we have two filters where that we can use in filtering our dashboard. We have the select age group filter, and we also have the select vaccine filter, so we can deselect this, and if we click on this you can see all the various vaccines that we can pick and select from. All right, so the dashboard makes use of these two filters. We can click on this, the age group, and can click on all to get all values. And if we take a look at this dashboard, we have the title section, which is the immunization coverage dashboard. Then we have our chart. All right, so for this dashboard I make sure that it is simple and straightforward, so we did not create too much charts. We just have two charts and a table, but yet it's also very power packed. So for the first chart, we are going to be looking at vaccination coverage by vaccine. How many percent of the percent of patients that receive a particular type of vaccine. So we have the BCG, the DPT, hepatitis B, the MMR, and the polio vaccine. How many percentage of patients took these various vaccine? Then we are also going to be looking at the vaccination by age group. For the various age group, how many percentage were vaccinated, which age group was more vaccinated? All right, and you can remember filter the dashboard. And for example, if we want to look at, so let's clear this, and let's say we want to look at just BCG. All right, so you can see for the various age group which patients were more vaccinated. So we can take a look at MMR, and we can see for the various age group which patients were more at collected this particular vaccine. So the last thing is going to be our data preview table, where we can look at the first 10 rows of our data frame as well, and the filter option also works to filter this table. This is what I will be teaching you how to create in this video. So this is very easy and straightforward, and is a very valuable project that you can add to your portfolio, your healthcare data analysis portfolio, in case you are transitioning into the healthcare space and you need projects that you want to work on, so that you can add to your portfolio for future employers or any company you want to work with, to see that, oh, I can make use of Python in analyzing data and creating dashboard. Then this is something that you should be creating for you to add to your portfolio. All right, it is easy, straightforward, beginner friendly, and straight to the point. So without wasting time, let's dive right in. So the first thing we are going to be doing is to create our Python file as usual. All right, so you can go to the first icon here, click on it that says new file, and we'll call this our let's call this vaccine.py. Remember I said adding the .py as an extension is what makes this a Python file, right? So if we click on this, now we have our Python file. All right, so I just want to go ahead and remove that. So once we've created our Python file, the next thing we need to do is to import our libraries, and we are using same libraries as usual. We are going to be importing pandas as pd, we import streamlit as st, and we would also import a data visualization library. All right, so I'll go ahead and do that. So looking at this, you can see we've imported streamlit as st, pandas as pd, and matplotlib.pyplot as plt. This is what we'll be using to create all our charts for visualization. So once we are done with that, we can now go ahead and read in our data set using pandas. And so you read in a data set with pandas, you just have to call the pandas.read_csv and pass in the file path. So let's go ahead and do that also. So remember I told you that you just have to pass in the file path, and now we have to go to where this CSV file is being saved on our computer system. So you see we have it here already, right, which is the immunization underscore coverage.csv file, but we want to get the location of this file on our computer system. So if I go to my file folder and I click on this folder, immunization underscore vaccine, you can see we have our CSV file right here. So if I click on this and go to properties, I can easily just copy the location. This is the file path, right? So I can copy the location, Control C, and let's go back to our VS Code and paste this in. All right. Now we also need to add our file name. Okay, so let's go back. This is the file name, immunization coverage, Control C, and this is the file extension .csv. So let's go back. We'll paste this in backslash Control V, then .csv, which is the file extension, and we can go ahead and pass in a arrow here to help us read in our file. And now we can save this as df, just short form for data frames. So now we now have our data frame that has been read in. Okay, now if we take a look at our data set here, you see we have our vaccination date that contains the various day a vaccination took place, right? So we have for the 1st of January 2024, we have the record ID, the region, the facility type, the vaccination type that was given, the age group, immunized, if you were immunized or not, the dose number, and the vaccination date. We want to ensure that our vaccination date is a date data type. There are times where your data set is being read in, you might have a data type that looks like a date data type, but it is not actually date. So to avoid that, we just want to ensure that this data set, our vaccination date column, is safe or is actually a date data type. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll be calling on the pd.to underscore date time, and we just have to pass in our vaccination date column. So that particular date column which you want to ensure that is a date data type, you just have to select that column and use the pd.to underscore date time to ensure it is a date data type. Okay, and you can now go ahead and save this as our vaccination date once more. So with that, we've read in our data set, and we've also ensured that our vaccination date is a date data type. Now we can now go into creating the structure of our dashboard, and the first thing we want to do is to give our dashboard a name. So to give our dashboard a name, we'll use streamlit.title. All right, so we'll be calling our dashboard the immunization coverage dashboard, since we want to see the various immunization patterns across the year, right? So we'll be calling our dashboard the immunization coverage dashboard. And by the way, you can give your dashboard any name, but make sure that it's a name that befits your project. And we'll also be writing this short description using the streamlit.write function, and say that this dashboard analyzes vaccination coverage rates and identifies immunization gaps across age groups. All right, so now since we've given our dashboard a name and also added a brief introduction or description about our dashboard, we can now go ahead into creating the various elements in our dashboard. And one of the first elements we'll be looking at is to create filters. Our dashboard is going to make use of filters, right? So we want to ensure that we've created our filters first before we start creating any chart on the dashboard. And to create our filters, we are going to have to create the sidebar for our dashboard. So that is going to be the next thing we'll be looking at. So for our dashboard, we are going to be using two filters, but before we create our filters, we have to create a sidebar headers that is going to be holding those filters. So we'll be calling on the st.sidebar.header to create that it's just going to be like a segment in the dashboard that is going to hold our filters, right? So now the two filters that are going to be on our dashboard is going to be the age group filter and the vaccination filter. Okay, so we want a situation where we can filter our dashboard based on age group or based on vaccination type, right? So let's go ahead and create those filter. I'll be walking you through the process on how to create those filter. So the first filter is the age group filter. So if we take a look at our data set once more, you would see we have the age group column right here, okay, that specifies 0 to 1, 1 to 5 years, 6 to 12 years, the various age group that can take those particular vaccine, or those particular vaccines were being administered to. All right, so we want to create filters where we can pick particular age group and filter by those age group. Since those age group have already been created on our data set, all we have to do now is to get those unique age groups. So we want to get 0 to 1, 1 to 5, the 6 to 12, 13 to 18, those unique values in this age group column. We want to get those values, and the way we can get those unique values in Python is calling on the dot unique method. Okay, so it's very easy and straightforward. You just have to call on the dot unique method to get the unique values in the age group columns. So if you had the dot to list, it's going to help us to return a list of those unique values. Okay, so we're also going to be sorting this so that it's going to be in ascending order from 0 to 1 to 2 to 5 and so forth, from the smallest age group to the biggest age group. All right, so once we've done that, we're also going to add an all options. If you've watched other of my videos, you always see that we always add this all option, so that in case we want to look at all the various age group all at once, we don't want to select a particular age group, it also gives us that ability to take a look at the all age group at once. So once we've done that, we can now go ahead and use our streamlit.sidebar.select box. We are going to be passing in these values as options into our streamlit.sidebar.select box. All right, and we'll be saving this as our selected age group. So now let's go ahead and look at the other filter we'll be creating and how we'll go about creating that. So the next filter we'll be creating is the vaccine filter, and if we also go ahead and take a look at our vaccine type, you'll see we have various vaccine type: the MMR, which is for measles, mumps and rubella; we have hepatitis B; we have polio vaccine; we have DPT; we have BCG. So we have the various vaccine types here, right? So we want a situation where we can select multiple vaccine types to filter our dashboard by. So because we want to be able to select multiple vaccine, we'll be using the multi-select sidebar option. So you could see that in situation where we want to select just one value, we use the select box option, right? But when we want to select multiple values, we are going to be using the multi-select sidebar option. Okay, so this one will give us ability to select multiple options at a time. And to do that, we are also going to be passing in two values. Okay, we are going to be having our options and our default values. So for the options, it's going to be same process as well, like what we just did here. The difference is that we are not going to be adding an all option. Okay, so that is just going to be different. So we are going to get all the unique values from the vaccine type column, and we'll pass this to the tool list so that we can get a list of these unique vaccine type, and we're also going to be sorting this so that we can get it in ascending order. Okay, we're also going to be returning this on our default value as well. So by default, we are going to be getting some values already selected on the vaccine filter. So now that we are done with that, we've created our filters, right? But we have to create our filter data frame, so that we'll be using that filter data frame to create our dashboard. It's just like in Tableau. After creating parameter, you have to create calculated fit to make use of that parameter which you've created. So it's just same process. We've created the filters, but we also have to write code to filter the data frame, and we'll now be using that filter data frame to create our charts in our dashboard. So now let me show you how we can go about featuring our dashboard based on these codes we've written already. So to get our filtered data frame, we are using two logic. Remember that our data frame works using two filter, the age group filter and the vaccine filter. So the first logic we are going to be saying is, if the selected vaccine type, based on this filter, probably you've opened your dashboard and you've clicked on a particular vaccine type you want to filter your dashboard by. If those vaccine type is inside the vaccine type column, then we want our dashboard to return just those rows of data containing those vaccine types. So for example, if I click on the dashboard and I said I want to see MMRO, polio, and probably DPT, then I just picked only 3 vaccines, right? So I want my data set to be filtered to show me only rows that are containing these 3 vaccine types. So that is technically what we are doing here using the .is in method. So we are saying if our selected vaccine is in this vaccine type column, then go ahead and return those rows of data, and we'll be saving that as our filtered DF. So remember that we are also using our age group filter, right? So the next thing we want to do is to return only rows of data that meets up with our age group filter. So we want to also say that if in a situation we are not using this all option, because if we are using this all option, technically we want to return all the rows of data, right? So if we are not using this all option and we picked a particular age group, then go ahead and return just rows of data containing those age group. So that's what we are saying here, and we use a subset to be able to filter our filter DF. Okay, so now that we've gotten our filtered data frame, we can now go ahead and start building our chart using this filtered data frame. So the first chart we want to build is to show the percent of patients that were vaccinated per the various vaccine types. So we want to see for polio how many patients were vaccinated for polio, how many were vaccinated for DPT, how many were vaccinated for mumps, MMRO, how many were for the various vaccine types. We want to see the percentage of the patients that were vaccinated. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to give our chart a name, right? A title. I'll be using the streamlit.subheader to call this the vaccination coverage by vaccine. All right, so now that we've done that, so the easiest way to get the percentage of people that were vaccinated for the various vaccine type is to use a group by function and an apply function. Okay, so for the apply function, we'll be using a lambda function. A lambda function helps us to be able to write our own function. So we'll be calling on the lambda function, and we want to say that if x is equals to yes, meaning immunize. So let's go back to our data set. If we go back to our data set, if you look at the immunize column here, we have no and we have yes. So for patients that were immunized, we have yes, and those that were not immunized, we have no, right? So we want to look at just those patients that were immunized, because we are getting the percentage of people that were immunized by the various vaccine type, right? So we want to look at only those that were immunized. So we are saying if s is equals yes, then we want to get the mean and multiply by 100. So with that, we'll be getting the percentage value. So remember that we are calling this apply function is going to be working on our immunized column of our data set. I'll be grouping by the vaccine type. So for group by, the column that comes after the group by is what you are grouping by, right? Why the other column, which is usually in this square bracket, is the column you want to apply your statistical analysis on. So for example, this could just be a sum function, this could have been a mean function, this could be value count or whatever. In this situation, we are calling on a lambda function on this to get the percentage of people that were immunized based on the various vaccine type. So with this, we can now call on the various columns and technically just give these names. So for our coverage columns, remember our coverage columns is having two columns of data, which is the vaccine type and the immunized. So we want to rename this, and we'll just be calling this vaccine and the vaccination percent. All right, so with this now we can now go ahead and create our chart, and we'll be using matplotlib.pyplot in creating our charts. So this chart is going to be a bar chart. All right, for matplotlib.pyplot, it's easy for you to use the plt.subplot method in creating charts, where all your values are going to be on the axis, and you can call on the figure to see your chart. So for axis.bar, remember we're going to be creating a bar chart. We call on coverage vaccine, which is this. Remember that we've renamed our column as vaccine and the vaccine percent. So coverage vaccine and the coverage vaccination percentage. And we can also rename or set our Y label and S label using the axis.set underscore Y label and axis.set underscore S label in matplotlib, and we can just give these various names: the vaccination percentage and our vaccine. And to see our charts, we have to call on the figure. So call on st.pyplot and pass in the fig1 to see your chart. So let's go ahead and just save this. We do Ctrl S to save, and we can go to our terminal, go to new terminal. So we are creating a new terminal, and we are going to be running our vaccination.py chart on this new terminal. So we'll call on streamlit run vaccine dot py. So if I go ahead and click on enter to run this, and we just wait for a few seconds, then we'll be able to see our dashboard. Okay, so now you can see that our dashboard is now running on my local host in my computer system. And with this, we can take a look at our filters first of all. So if we look at our filters, you can see the various age groups: 0 to 1, 1 to 5, 13 to 18, and 6 to 12 years. Okay, so if we click on any of these, it filters our dashboard. So let's go back to the all option, and we also have the various vaccines. So we have the BCG, the DPT, the hepatitis B, the MMR, and the polio vaccine. All right, so we can go ahead and pick on polio. It filters our dashboard. We can go ahead and remove. So by default, we are seeing all the vaccines. So if you want to remove anyone, so for example, you don't want to see MMR, you can delete this as well, and you see we now have just BCG, DPT, and hepatitis B. All right, so let's go ahead and choose an option. We can click, and we can get all the options once more on our dashboard. So let's take a look at our dashboard now. So here we have our dashboard title, which is immunization coverage dashboard, and this is our chart: vaccination coverage percent by vaccine. Now we can see for BCG we had about 89% of patients receive BCG. Then with DPT, we also had 85% of patients receiving DPT. We have the hepatitis B vaccine, the MMR, and the polio vaccine. So we can see the percentage coverage of immunized patients for our various vaccines. So let's go back to continue creating our dashboard. So the next chart we want to be looking at is the vaccination gap by age group, and we'll be using the same process. We'll give this a title, which is the vaccination gap by age group, and we'll go ahead and to get the various immunized patients that were immunized by the various age groups. So previously we saw the percentage of patients that were immunized by the various vaccine type, right? Now we want to see how many patients were immunized by the various age groups. So we'll be using same process. Calling on the filter df, we are going to group by age group. All right, using the lambda function to get the percentage of people that were immunized. So remember that yes are for only those that were immunized, and to get the percentage we'll be subtracting that from 100. And we can add also the dot reset in there so that we can get like a table structure. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save this as our gap. We want to see the difference, so we go ahead and save this as our gap. And to name our columns, we'll be passing in the various name, which is age group and the vaccination gap percent. So once we've done this, we've gotten our table ready. We can now go ahead and create our charts using same process we used earlier on. So this is going to be our second figure we are creating, right? So this is going to be figure 2 and our axis 2. And remember, we are using the matplotlib.py plot, so we are calling on plt.subplot, and we just have to pass in all our variables onto the axis. So axis.bar, and we want to look at the age group and the vaccination gap percentage, right? And we can now go ahead and set our S label, call this age group, set our Y label, and call this the vaccination gap percent. And to see our figure, to see the chart which we've created, we'll be calling on the streamlit st.py plot and pass in our figure to this. So if I go ahead and save this, Ctrl S, our charts would have been created and added. All right, we are also going to be adding a data preview where we can get the first 10 rows of our data set. But before we do that, let's go to our dashboard and let's refresh our dashboard and see if it has been updated. So this is our dashboard. We can still see our vaccination coverage by vaccine, and now we can also see the vaccination gap by age group. Okay, so you can see the age group that was more vaccinated, which is 13 to 18 years of age. The age group that were least vaccinated was 0 to 1. Okay, so for example, if you want to see for the various vaccine type, we can now go ahead and say, okay, we want to remove this, and you see it filters the dashboard. Now we can now see that for these 4 vaccines, these were how the various age group were vaccinated. So let's go back to our dashboard and add a preview of the first 10 rows of our data frame. So to get the first 10 rows of our data frame, we have to call on the .add method. Using the .add method by default gives you the first 5 rows, right? Then if you want to get 10, 6 or any number, you just have to pass in the particular numbers of rows you want to get into the .add method. Okay, so this is going to be a data frame, so you just have to call on the streamlit.data frame and pass this values into it. Okay, so we are also going to be giving this a title. I'll be calling it the data preview. So with this, we are done creating our dashboard. We just have to Ctrl S to resave. Let's go back to our dashboard and refresh and see what our dashboard looks like. All right, so if we scroll down, now we can see the first 10 rows of our data set, and also we can deselect from these. We can also go ahead and say we want to look at age group from 1 to 5, and it also affects our table. So you can now see for the age group we only have values from 1 to 5. All right, so this is a very easy and simple project you can add to your portfolio. So if you are an healthcare data analyst and you want to create projects that showcases your ability for you to use Python programming language in working on healthcare data or creating dashboard on healthcare data, then this is a very easy projects you can replicate and add to your portfolio as well. So guys, if you enjoyed the process of how we created this dashboard, I wanted it to be fast, easy and straightforward. So I hope we're able to understand what we did here. If you have any questions, then please drop it in the comment section. I would ensure to answer any of your questions, or any place that you find confusing, ensure to drop in the comment section. I will ensure to explain much more better to you. Okay, so if you found this video helpful or educative, then please ensure to give this video a thumbs up, and also share this video so that we can get to a larger audience. All right, I want all our healthcare data analysts, people that are aiming to transition into healthcare data analysts, I want them to be able to watch this video and probably create a project relating to this, and so that they can add to their portfolio as well. All right, so, and also, if this is your first time you're coming across this YouTube channel, then please ensure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And also, you can go through this YouTube channel. There are a whole lot of educative content and video regarding healthcare data analysis. In fact, if you are considering transitioning, or if you are currently transitioning into healthcare data analysis, then this YouTube channel should be your go-to YouTube channel. Okay, go through my playlist and there will be a whole lot that you can learn from. All right, then till next time, bye for now and see you in my next video.